They made us record journal entries, psychological logs. I stole some of them before I ran. Maddie took it with shaking hands. Allison looked down. Your sister, she tried to protect me. That's why they broke her first. Zach's jaw tightened. What do you mean broke her? They tried to make her compliant. With drugs, isolation, electric shocks. But she resisted. She fought back. Maddie's throat closed. Is she alive? Allison hesitated. She was the last time I saw her. Maddie dropped to her knees, tears stinging her eyes. Zach stood guard, scanning the shadows. We need to leave. Now. But before they could move, headlights lit up the park. Black SUVs. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. They found us, Allison whispered. Maddie grabbed her hand. Then we run. They bolted through the back exit, scaling a fence into the woods. Maddie clutched the flash drive like a lifeline. Gunshots rang out behind them, warning shots. They didn't stop running until their lungs burned and the sound of vehicles faded. In an abandoned barn outside town, they collapsed on the dirt floor. Maddie looked at Allison. Do you want to tell your story? Allison nodded slowly. If it helps bring them down, I'll tell everything. The next episode of the podcast dropped the following day. Titled Room 2C. Allison's story. It was raw, haunting, and impossible to ignore. The world didn't question anymore. Now they demanded answers. Subpoenas were issued. Investigations launched. Senate hearings scheduled. Even the president made a statement. But deep in the shadows, the Root Society was already preparing its next move. And Maddie knew the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The war for the record. By the third day after Allison's episode aired, the world was no longer the same. Maddie's podcast, Echo Ridge, Buried Truth, was being translated into multiple languages. Victims, survivors, and whistleblowers from across the country flooded her inbox. Federal agents began swarming into Echo Ridge. The governor issued a public statement vowing a full investigation into decades of systemic neglect. But to Maddie, it all felt too late, too rehearsed, too controlled. Behind the scenes, Maddie and Zach stayed in hiding. Allison remained close, only speaking when she had to. She was traumatized, fractured in ways that couldn't be seen, but determined. She remembered everything. The layout of the rooms, the faces of the guards, the files they had her read aloud into the camera for behavioral response training. And most importantly, she remembered the name of the man who gave her injections. Raymond Hale. He wasn't just involved. He was in charge. That night, Jenna called with a new breakthrough. I decrypted the metadata from the flash drive Allison gave you, she said. There's a file buried beneath the recordings. You tried to wipe it clean, but I restored it. It's a video, about 12 minutes long. Maddie opened her laptop and hit play. The screen flickered. A dimly lit room appeared. Metal walls. A single folding chair. Laura sat in it. Tubes ran from her arm. Electrodes on her temple. Her voice was barely audible. My name is Laura West. Today is, I don't know what day it is. They say it's for my good. That I have to forget my sister. Forget home. They say I'm being upgraded. But I remember Maddie. I remember Mom's music. Burst suinly. H-T. Long pause. If someone finds this, please tell her I fought. I did. And stop fighting. Maddie's hands covered her mouth. The video ended with the words, transfer approved. Destination, Archive 7. Jenna's voice came through the call again. Quieter. Maddie, this is the kind of thing that could take down governments. Maddie whispered. Where's Archive 7? I'm working on it. But they're trying to scrub it. Whatever it is, they don't want it to exist anymore. The next day, Allison agreed to speak on camera. It took hours to prepare. Maddie filmed it herself, keeping the setting hidden, the lighting soft, letting Allison talk at her own pace. What came out was a raw, tear-stained account of her time at Haven Ridge. The people she saw, the experiments, the day Laura saved her. When a video went live under the title, She Was in the Room Next to Mine, it hit 1 million views in under 4 hours. By evening, dozens of officials had resigned. And then, the system fought back. Late that night, Maddie's backup servers were hit with a cyber attack. Every file, her research, her interviews, the ledger, the map of facilities wiped in minutes. Only the few physical copies and offline backups she kept were spared. Then came the message. A simple email. One sentence. We offered you a warning. T.S. is your final one. Zach took the keys. We move now. No phones. No laptops. We go dark. They left with only what they could carry. No one knew where they were. 3 days passed in silence. Then Jenna sent a single message THR. Oof, a one-way channel. I found Archive 7. It's not just a building. It's a transport hub. Underground. Near Utah. Codename Project Garden. And THE. Read something else. Laura's name is still on the active file list. Maddie looked up from the screen, her voice steady. She's alive. Zach stared at her, breath held. Then we finish this. No more running. Allison placed her hand on Maddie's shoulder. This time, we bring them down for good. The road to Garden. The morning sky over the Rockies was silver and silent. A light snow fell as Maddie, Zach, and Allison drove west toward Utah in an unmarked pickup. The cabin filled with quiet tension. No music, no small talk, just the humming of tires against asphalt and the growing certainty that everything was about to change. Archive 7, also called Project Garden, was located in the desert outskirts near a decommissioned airfield. Official records labeled it as a Cold War-era storage site, but Jenna's research uncovered far more. Satellite scans showed unusual heat signatures underground. Records of freight trucks entering at night. Massive power usage spikes every few weeks. This wasn't storage. It was active. They pulled off the highway and followed a gravel service road through the desert, surrounded by nothing but cracked earth and distant mountains. Finally, they reached a wire fence topped with rusted barbed wire. Beyond it stood a small concrete structure, harmless on the outside. This is it, Zach said. Maddie checked the time. Just after 1 a.m. The sky was dark. No movement. No guards. Too quiet, Allison whispered. They cut through the fence and made their way to the entrance. A keypad blinked beside a steel door. Allison stepped forward and typed something. A code she remembered from years ago. The door clicked. They stepped into a narrow stairwell, then into a tunnel lined with fluorescent lights. The temperature dropped. The air grew dry and metallic. The tunnel split into 3 halls. Maddie's gut told her to go left. They passed sealed doors, each marked with a number and a symbol. Circles, squares, spirals. They found one room partially open. Inside were cots, clipboards, trays of untouched food. Someone had left in a hurry. Then Zach stopped. Ahead was a steel door with the number 7 painted on it. Maddie approached and placed her palm against the cold metal. She felt something deep in her chest. Fear, hope, fire. They entered. The room was quiet, large, full of monitors and rows of bunk-style sleeping pods, each with a biometric panel. Half were empty, half still sealed. Zach found a terminal and started flipping through files. Allison moved toward the pods. These are newer than the ones they used before. This is recent. Maddie scanned the names on the panels. Her fingers stopped on one. Laura West. Pod sealed. Vital signs. Stable. She's here, Maddie whispered. She touched the release screen, but a red warning flashed. Admin code required. Zach called out. I'm downloading everything. Locations, logs, transfer records. If we get this out, it's over. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Then the door slammed shut behind them. A voice came through the speakers. Calm. Deep. You were warned. And now you'll join her. Zach pulled his gun. Allison backed into the corner. Maddie stood still. We're not afraid of you, she said. No, but she is. And she's been waiting to forget you. The pod containing Laura began to hiss. Systems powering up. Maddie screamed. Don't touch her. But the voice said nothing more. Then the lights died. And the countdown began. Countdown. The red glow from the emergency lights pulsed slowly in the dark room, casting flickering shadows across the steel walls. A loud beeping sound started emanating from Laura's pod. The countdown had begun, 90 seconds and ticking. Zach rushed to the terminal. They've initiated a forced relocation protocol. It's rerouting her pod for transfer, probably underground rails. If that thing leaves this facility, We may never find her again. Can you stop it? Maddie's voice cracked. Not unless I have the admin code. Or we cut the power. Allison ran to the power conduit at the far wall. She examined the wiring. If I sever this, the door might open, but we lose lights. And systems, including the pod's life support. Maddie faced a choice she never wanted to make. Save her sister and risk killing her. Or let her disappear again into darkness. We don't get another shot, Zach said, watching the second drop. 62, 61, 60. Maddie took a breath. Kill the power. Allison nodded and yanked down the fuse release. Sparks flew. The lights cut to total blackness. The pod's hiss slowed. The countdown stopped at 53. Then silence. Maddie's flashlight clicked on. The pod seal released with a slow, mechanical clunk. She stepped forward, heart pounding. Inside, curled like a ghost of a memory, was Laura. Pale, weak, alive. Maddie reached in, her voice breaking. Laura, it's me. Laura's eyes fluttered. She coughed, dry, sharp, but real. I knew you'd come, she whispered. Zach hoisted her out as Allison guided them through the darkened hallway. Alarms had stopped. No more voices through the speakers. No response at all. Something's wrong, Zach muttered. They should have been on us by now. As they emerged from the stairwell back into the desert night, they found the trucks. Burning. Four black SUVs engulfed in flames. Tires melted into the sand, glass shattered. No one around. Just smoke and an eerie silence. Allison looked pale. Someone else was here. Then headlights appeared in the distance. A lone pickup truck. Jenna. She stepped out in full gear. Grab her. Let's go. Zach laid Laura gently in the back seat. Maddie sat beside her, holding her sister's hand as if afraid to let go. Jenna pulled them out fast. No one followed. Not yet. Back at the safe house, Laura slept for 12 hours straight. When she woke, she didn't say much, but her eyes were clear. Present. Maddie stayed close. Finally, Laura spoke. You saved me. Maddie smiled, tears welling in her eyes. I never stopped looking. 3 days later, Maddie published the final part of her investigation. Episode 20, The Garden is Real, included leaked footage from Archive 7, a confession from Allison, the pod logs, and for the first time, Laura, A's voice, soft but certain. They told me I'd forget, that I'd become someone else. But I never did. I held on to one thing, Maddie, my sister. I knew she'd find me, and I want the world to know these places exist. They stole our childhoods. They tried to erase us, but we are still here. The podcast exploded across every platform. Lawmakers demanded answers. International agencies launched coordinated investigations. Former members of the Root Society were arrested, including 2 former senators and a tech CEO, but the network wasn't fully gone. Some had vanished before the lights came on, and a final message was sent to Maddie's new encrypted line. You found one flower in the garden. B. The roots still run deep. Deeper roots. The message haunted Maddie long after it arrived. You found one flower in the garden, but the roots still run deep. She read it over and over again, pacing the safe house while Laura rested. The Root Society had been exposed. At least one of their facilities dismantled, dozens of operatives arrested, their inner circle under fire from every corner of the media. But the message was clear. It wasn't over. They're regrouping, Jenna said during a secure call. The ones you caught were visible, political pawns. But the ones with real power? They planned for this. They knew the moment one seed was pulled, the others would scatter. Maddie leaned back, eyes heavy from sleepless nights. How do we cut deeper? How we stop the rest? By following the money, Jenna said. And I found something. According to Jenna's digital forensics, a private banking firm in Luxembourg had transferred over $90 million to dummy accounts connected to Root Society shell companies. All of them were funneled through a fake philanthropic organization known as the Children's Advancement Consortium, CAC. Its board included academics, scientists, media executives, and even spiritual leaders. People who appeared clean. But its last physical location? Denver, Colorado. Discreet, off-grid, and heavily guarded. Zach ran his fingers over a new set of printed floor plans Jenna had acquired. This is their headquarters. Not a lab. Not a facility. A command post. We bring it down, everything collapses. Maddie looked to Laura. Laura nodded. Let me come. Maddie hesitated. You're not ready. I'm not fragile, Laura said, voice firmer than it had been in days. You saved me. Let me help stop them. I know their rhythms. I know what they say when they think no one's listening. They planned everything carefully. Jenna would act as Overwatch from a hidden location nearby, hacking into CAC's internal systems. Zach would go in disguised as a private contractor. Maddie and Laura would enter through the side entrance during the 3 p.m. staff rotation. The objective: download all internal records, trace the remaining fund routes, and identify the final board members. The day of the operation, tension ran thick. The air in Denver was crisp and cold, the city bright and unaware. They moved in. The CAC building was sleek, mirrored glass reflecting the snow-dusted mountains. Nothing sinister on the outside. But as soon as they stepped in, the warmth of the lobby felt artificial, like a stage set. Jenna's voice came through the earpiece. You've got 10 minutes before someone realizes Zach's clearance isn't real. Maddie and Laura slipped into a maintenance hallway while Zach held the elevator. They reached the server room, Laura's old instincts kicking in as she guided Maddie past cameras, keypads, and time blocks. Inside, Maddie connected a drive Jenna had prepared. Data flooded in. Jenna whispered, "You're getting names. Hundreds of them. Bank records. Travel logs. Internal communications. Maddie, this is the root system." Suddenly, an alarm chirped softly. Laura turned. "We tripped something. Get out. Now," Jenna ordered. But before they could move, the overhead lights dimmed. A voice echoed through the room. Smooth, rehearsed. "Maddie West. Laura West. Welcome to the heart of it all." A figure stepped out from the shadows near the vault door. It was Dr. Caleb Thorne. Laura froze. "You remember me," he said with a polite smile. "I taught you how to forget. And yet, here you are, still whole." "Remarkable." Maddie stepped in front of Laura. "It's over. The world knows. We have everything." Dr. Thorne nodded. "And we thank you. The network you dismantled was obsolete, sloppy, public. But what we're building now is much more elegant." Zach's voice cracked through the radio. "There's ceiling exits. Armed guards moving in." Maddie gritted her teeth. "You think we came here without backup?" Jenna's voice came back, sharp. "Upload complete. Transmitting live to news outlets now. Even if they destroy the building, it's already out." Thorne's smile faded. He stepped back as red lights began flashing. Maddie turned to Laura. "Time to go." They fled through the emergency stairwell, fighting through smoke, alarms, and the pounding of boots above them. Outside, federal agents poured into the building within minutes. They escaped. That night, as the CAC building was raided and its members arrested, Maddie published her final episode. Episode 21, The Deepest Root. She didn't speak much in it. Just this: they tried to erase us. They failed. My sister is home. The truth is free. And for the first time, we're not afraid. The seed of something new. 2 weeks had passed since the fall of CAC. The world had shifted. Newspapers were filled with names, once powerful, now indicted. Government hearings were scheduled daily. International tribunals formed committees to investigate human rights violations across nearly a dozen countries. But for Maddie, it wasn't over. She sat on the back porch of the safe house, wrapped in a thick sweater, watching the sun rise over the hills. Laura slept inside, healing more each day. Zach and Jenna were already working, reviewing files, organizing survivor testimonies, helping build a formal coalition to ensure justice. But Maddie's thoughts were elsewhere. Despite all they had uncovered, one question remained unanswered. Why? Why had the Root Society, CAC, and Archive 7 done all this? What was the purpose behind so much pain? That's when Jenna called. "I've been decoding one of the locked folders. It's different, more abstract, not medical, not financial, philosophical, almost religious." Maddie frowned. "Religious?" "There's a document titled The Restoration Draft. It's written like a manifesto, and it mentions something called the Eden Program." Maddie's pulse picked up. "Another facility?" "No, it's not a place. It's an idea." That afternoon, Maddie, Laura, Zach, and Jenna gathered around the dining table. Jenna spread out printed screenshots and decrypted notes. The Eden program, as described, was the original plan behind the entire Root Society. Not just control, redesign. They believed that society was inherently flawed, too chaotic, too free, too emotional. Their solution was to recode the mind, to mold select children through conditioning, isolation, behavioral engineering, and selective memory loss. Then, these children would be reintroduced into society as stable units, as future leaders, scientists, judges, educators, unshakable, emotionless, controlled. It was never about punishment. It was an experiment in engineered perfection, and it had been going on since the late 1980s. Jenna handed Maddie the last page, a list of successful deployments. 10 names, all adults, doctors, CEOs, a U.S. District Court judge. Maddie stared at the names. They weren't in hiding. They were already leading. That evening, Maddie recorded a bonus episode. Short. Urgent. The war we thought we won was just a battle. The deepest root was never in a lab. It was planted in boardrooms, courtrooms, and classrooms. You know their names now. Some of them taught you. Some of them signed your laws. Some, them treated you in hospitals. But we are not powerless. We exposed their cis. Thing won't see. We will expose it again. She ended with a new title. Operation Eden, The Reckoning Begins. The next day, a box was delivered to Maddie's door. No return address. Inside was a single item, a black folder. No label. No markings. Just a note. You're asking the right questions. But are you ready for the answers? Maddie opened the folder and gasped. Inside were surveillance photos of her. From 5 years ago. From 2 years ago. From 2 weeks ago. She turned the last page. It was a copy of her birth certificate, altered. Place of birth. Not New York, as she believed, but Facility 1, Project Eden. She stared in stunned silence. Zach stepped forward. What is it? Maddie whispered. I wasn't just fighting them. I was one of them. The truth inside her. The world tilted beneath Maddie's feet. She stared at the altered birth certificate, fingers trembling. Facility 1, Project Eden. Not a place she'd ever heard of. Not a detail she had ever suspected. All her life, she had believed she was born in New York to 2 regular parents. But now, Zach stood frozen at her side. You're telling me they made you? Jenna's voice crackled through the speaker. Maddie, this changes everything. No, Maddie said, voice flat. It changes nothing. She dropped the folder on the table and turned toward the others. I may have come from them, but I'm not theirs. I chose the truth. I chose to fight. Laura stepped beside her. Whatever they did, whatever they tried to shape, you broke it. You became you, not them. Maddie nodded slowly. But inside, a storm was forming. Because if she had been part of Project Eden, what else had they hidden from her? That night, she couldn't sleep. She pulled out every journal entry she'd ever written. She combed through old school records, childhood photos, even hospital files. And bit by bit, patterns emerged. Her nightmares as a child. The strange sleep studies her parents had enrolled her in. Her inexplicable ability to remember numbers, dates, conversations word for word. The odd way she disconnected under stress. And how she could turn it off like a switch. She had thought it was trauma. Maybe it was programming. Jenna dug deeper into the Eden files. You were one of 12, she told Maddie the next morning. Phase 1 subjects. You weren't placed in a lab. You were placed in the world. Monitored. Tested. But not told. Maddie asked, and the others? 7 are dead. 2 are missing. 1 disappeared in 1999. The other, well, Jenna hesitated. He's alive. His name is Elias Carr. He's a federal advisor. On education reform. Maddie's blood ran cold. He's helping shape public schools across the country. And doing it with Eden's blueprint, Jenna added. Quiet, subtle, and completely legal. Maddie stood. Then we go to him. Zach frowned. How? He's protected. You can't just walk into a government office and confront a national figure about being part of a brainwashing experiment. We don't need to, Maddie said. She looked down at the folder again, at the surveillance photos of herself. If they're watching me, that means they know I know. and sooner or later, they'll send him. 2 days later, it happened. A black SUV pulled up outside the cabin. No lights, no sound. Maddie stood alone on the porch, unarmed, waiting. The back door opened, and a man stepped out. Late 30s. Sharp suit. Calm eyes. He smiled. "You come a long way, Madeline." She didn't blink. "It's Maddie, and I know who you are." "Then you know I didn't come to threaten you," he said gently. "I came to offer clarity." "Clarity doesn't come in a black car," she said. He chuckled. Still sharp. "They said you would be." Maddie stepped forward. "Why did they make me?" "To prove it was possible," Elias said. "To create someone who could hold fire and never burn. They gave you instincts, memory, control." She raised her voice. "And what about empathy? Free will? Did that come with the programming?" Elias's smile faded. "That was the part they failed to understand. You were the outlier, the uncontrollable one, because I didn't want to belong to them." "No," he said, "because you chose love." She stepped closer. "You've seen what we've done. The world is waking up. You can't put this back in the ground." "I'm not here to stop you," Elias said. "I'm here to warn you. The others, those still hidden, they don't care about exposure. They care about reset." Maddie narrowed her eyes. "What kind of reset?" "The kind that starts everything over." Later that night, Jenna cracked into a restricted Eden subdirectory titled Protocol Zero. What she found wasn't just another lab or facility. It was a failsafe, a last resort plan designed to wipe the entire digital trail of Project Eden and Root Society, erasing data, eliminating witnesses, even collapsing government systems tied to their funding streams. And the countdown had already begun. 72 hours. Maddie stared at the screen. "We didn't just open a door," she whispered. "We triggered a bomb. The final light." The cabin transformed overnight into a command center. Jenna worked across 3 laptops at once, code flying down the screens as she fought to delay Protocol Zero. Zach stood by the door, his old service rifle now loaded and ready. Laura stayed close to Maddie, eyes sharper than ever, no longer the broken soul she once was. 72 hours had become 48, then 24, now 18. The Root Society's last move wasn't violence. It was silence. If Protocol Zero succeeded, every document, every audio file, every court testimony, everything would vanish. It would be as if it had all never happened. Maddie sat at the center of it all, headphones on, microphone ready. He began to record her final broadcast. "If you're hearing this, it means we ran out of time, or maybe we didn't. Maybe the world finally chose to remember. This isn't a podcast. This is evidence, memory, resistance. And if they come for it, they'll have tea." "Oh, Erasev," airy voice whoever spoke up. She paused. "You know my name. You know my sister's. But what matters is yours. Your voice. If they buried you, I'm here to say, you're not Los. T. You're not broken. You're not gone." She hit upload. Jenna looked up. "It's propagating. Satellite link. 6 mirrors embedded in blockchain. They can't kill it all." Then the alarm went off. Motion sensors. Vehicles approaching. Zach looked out the window. 3 SUVs. "They're here." Maddie turned to Laura. "Go out the back with Jenna. Get to the extraction point." "What about you?" Laura asked. "I have to finish this." "No," Laura said. "We finish it together." The SUVs pulled up in a cloud of dust. Doors opened. 5 figures stepped out, suits, not soldiers. At their center, Elias' car. No weapons drawn, just silence. Maddie stepped outside, standing firm as wind pushed her hair across her face. Elias stepped forward. "You uploaded the core." "I did," she said. "It will cost lives," he said. "Chaos. Collapse." "No," Maddie replied. "It will cost you control." Elias's face hardened. "You can't stop evolution, Maddie. You were part of it." She looked him straight in the eye. Then evolution made a mistake. From the hills, a roar. Not of violence, but of people. Cars, bikes, trucks, hundreds of them. Survivors. Supporters. Journalists. Armed citizens. The movement had grown. They had come to protect her. To protect the truth. The Root Society was not just exposed. It was surrounded. Elias looked around him, his quiet world cracking. "We were going to save the world," he said quietly. Maddie stepped forward. "No." You try to own it. 1 week later, the Root Society dissolved publicly. Nearly 200 arrests. Archive 7 and 6 other known facilities turned into memorials. The survivors, Allison, Laura, and many others, formed a national network to protect victims and prevent further abuses. Congress passed the Clarity Act, outlawing all covert behavioral experimentation without consent. And Maddie? She published a book titled Beneath the Garden. It became a symbol, not of tragedy, but of resistance. She and Laura bought a small home near the ocean. Sometimes they walked the beach in silence. No microphones, no cameras, just air, water, memory. One night, Laura asked her, "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Maddie looked at the horizon. "If they do, they'll find us." Ready. Final words of her last broadcast. They planted roots in silence. We swore with our voices. And now, we bloom. The end.